All right.
All right.
So, first off, thanks for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
It's a long time in the making.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
And you just it was on Thursday night was Invasion Roswell.
Yes.
Now, I have
Yes,
so many
yes.
questions about this,
All right.
and not so much about the film itself, but I'm because that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's
it's
very unapologetic B movie, I think.
well, the thing is here, did Sci-Fi approach you, or did you approach them, or
Well, it was kind of an interesting scenario because basically, like the way sci-fi operates with that stuff is they kind of like farm out specific ideas to different production companies. So they're like Roger Corman's company, which I can't remember the name off of the top of my head. They'll do them. There's the one I worked with was called UFO. And I think there's like two or three other ones that
Asylum? Because Asylum did
yeah, Asylum
Sharknado.
does them.
Ooh,
And then there's another one that I don't remember the name of, but basic like the two kind of like higher end ones are Roger Corman's and UFO. But essentially, what they'll do is they'll be like, okay, get us a movie that's this title and like kind of like a close approximation of these two movies, and you kind of like come up with everything else after that. Like with mine, they wanted it to be like the Expendables mixed with Battleship, and so the way I kind of like the way I
Battleship.
sort of like approached it in my draft anyway was to make it like an 80s canon movie, like a Golden Globus film or whatever, and have it be a little more in line with like Missing in Action or Delta Force or one of those. And unfortunately, not a lot of that ended up on the screen, but it's kind of odd. They definitely take the approach that Roger Corman and some of these guys were doing in like the late or the 1960s and 1970s and up into the 80s, I guess, where they're it's like, okay, here's a popular movie, and the Italians would do this too, but it's like whatever the popular movie of the moment is, they'd take that, rip it off, and then tweak it a little bit and then put it out. Ours was a lot more I don't know, it didn't quite end up in either of them. It sort of came out more like that movie Red with Bruce Willis, or I mean, at least that, not like it's that quality level, but that's definitely the vibe that came out of it for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, it's a very strange process. They end up it's like you send them something and you're like, okay, like I feel pretty good about this, and then it sort of just becomes something else, by the time you get to like draft 3 or draft 4, you're like, oh, okay, I kind of can see why these movies come out this way.
I just don't understand the popularity of something like a Sharknado. I don't get it.
I don't either. I mean, I think it's just the so bad it's good thing that everyone likes. Or I don't know. It's very puzzling to me. I know that was all over Twitter and different social media sites, but it's I mean, I think it's just so like unapologetically ridiculous that it's like shooting fish in a barrel for people.
Well, I can honestly say I've never seen the film. I don't plan on seeing the film.
Well,
I remember.
cheers to that. I
Yes,
haven't either.
I remember. I remember. Was it you that? Yeah, you told me I should watch Rolling Thunder instead.
Oh yeah, that's a really good
And
movie.
I can't find it anywhere.
They put it out on this company called Shout Factory.
Oh,
They
yeah.
they put it out on. I think it's come out anyway. I'm not entirely sure, but if they haven't put it out, it's coming out soon, and they do like a really top notch job of their DVDs. They did the Fog re-release on Blu-ray,
I just picked it
and
up. Haven't watched it yet.
yeah, all their stuff is really solid. And Cliff McMillan, the guy who runs that, I used to work for him, and he's like, but he's a lot like us, where he's just like a big fan of this stuff and wants there to be like a lot of extras, and really takes time to like give it the best presentation possible. They're sort of like the criterion of genre, like genre home videos, I guess.
I can accept that.
Yeah, it's not bad. They kind of like filled in like the Anchor Bay slot or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I just recently upgraded to Blu-ray, and now whenever I go into like a Best Buy or a Barnes and Noble, it's so
Yeah.
hard not to just drop tons of cash because like I want this and I want that and I want that, and I wanted to upgrade my Evil Dead collection because it's Evil Dead.
Yeah.
You look at the new Blu-ray. I don't know if there's another one coming out, or you look at the new Blu-ray for Evil Dead, and there's nothing on there. It's bare bones.
Well, Anchor Bay put out one that has like it has an extra DVD in it that's got a lot of stuff, but like the Evil Dead 2 one is pretty good. Army of Darkness has like absolutely nothing on it.
Yeah, and then yet they call it like the Boomstick edition. Oh, so so you've
exactly.
blown everything away, so we can't watch it. I mean,
yeah, and there's like a featurette with Greg Nicotero and like the theatrical trailer, which is fine. Nothing against Greg.
right? But I saw the trailer back in 1993. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah,
I know what happens in the movie.
Trailer though.
Oh, well, they recut the trailer. Did they make it look not as grainy?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's been. I like the original theatrical one that they put out. Way back when, that was set to that Metallica song that I'm kind of spacing.
Oh, Sad But True, I think it is.
Yeah, that's it. That was it.
But it's not. But it wasn't Metallica. It was some knockoff band, so they wouldn't have to pay Metallica as much money.
Yeah, they did like they did a cover or some. Yeah, I remember. It's they don't have any of the lyrics over it. It's just the riff, but it's pretty cool.
Thus, giving Kid Rock the idea to sample that song.
Yeah,
That was so bad. Not because I always wonder, because I always have these ideas, and I always want to pitch them to people. But we've had this discussion about me being in Wisconsin isn't exactly an optimal thing. And is SyFy usually open to pitches? I mean, were they pretty receptive of what you guys wrote right off the bat, or did they have a lot of?
Kind of. It was very weird with mine because they I pitched them another thing that was really, really weird and pretty far removed from their normal stuff.
So it was.
That was
good.
kind of. What's that?
So it was good.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was like an '80s period piece. It was kind of more like in the vein of Piranha or one of those type of movies, but they did not go for that at all. And they this one I was like, okay, like this seems decent, and I was pretty okay with what ended up on the page, and I turned that into them, and they were like, wow, this came in so much better than everything else we get, blah, 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 blah. And then kind of like by the end of it, it's completely different. But the way like a lot of their stuff works is they'll kind of like reach out to these production companies, and sort of like the best thing it seems to do is like if you have some kind of relationship with them, you have a much better chance of like getting this stuff made, because that like so many of them are just like a factory where they're like, okay, we need to put out like 20 movies this year. We have like 8 writers or whatever. So we need to like, reach out and get people to do this for, not a lot of money, but like not quite asylum bad money where they make like, $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever. Oh, yeah. It's pretty wild, but I mean, basically, it's like all that work stems from the production companies, and if like you have some kind of relationship with them, or like if you found some way to submit something to them, they'd probably be receptive, But the problem too is like pretty much any of these things are contingent on them meeting you and like you being reliable, and a lot of that is like, you go in and they want to like make sure you show up on time and everything because their deadlines are really crazy. It's the type of thing where you have to like rewrite something in, like 4 days or a week or something like that.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah. But I mean, it's, it pays better than working at McDonald's, I guess. So it's not all
Amen.
bad.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Now let's. Can you hear me? I'm getting an echo.
Oh yeah. No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Um, one of the things that getting away from SyFy or whatever you want to call them now. You also wrote an episode of Supernatural.
Yeah, I co-wrote the story for it back in can't even I don't even remember what year it was now. I think it was like 2011 maybe or 2010.
My
But
question is, is how much leeway do they give you with these characters, or are they pretty much like these are the rules you have to go by?
well, I mean, with that one, that was a lot more. That was basically like, okay, here's time travel. It's the Old West. Here's the bad guy. Sam and Dean do this in the episode. I mean, they're kind of like all very locked in because like they're sort of following like an X-Files type structure for each episode, where it's like, okay, there's a monster. We think it's this. It doesn't turn out to be that. We have to do this, and then like it resolves on some note of brotherly harmony. They're very like I mean, and like I'm not trying to be dismissive of the show. Like I actually think there's a lot of really good episodes of it, but yeah, it was interesting because like I pretty much just that was like one of the first things I pitched to them, and then they just bought it very quickly, and then
Wow.
made it like 3 months later, and it was it was I was like, wow, this seems really easy, and then you find out later it's like not at all.
Well, I think it's funny with CW because now they had such a huge hit with Smallville, and now they're
Yeah,
trying to recapture that with like Arrow, and then they're teasing people saying, "Oh, well, next season on Arrow, the Flash is going to be in it, but he's not going to have his powers." Well, then it's not the Flash. I mean,
yeah.
come
Well,
on,
I mean,
people.
I'm sure they're trying to like do to like capitalize on like as much Christopher Nolan like Batman Begins type stuff where you're like, oh, you see him before he's got his powers, and then he gets them, and then da 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 da, and like they're really like kind of drawing these things out now. I'm not sure why.
I don't get it either. I don't, but let's talk about the important thing right now, the big
Okay.
thing. Let's talk about the Cartridge Family.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to see the episode, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you.
And I was very shocked to see Barbara Crampton like yelling at a kid in a video game store. That was great.
No, thanks, man.
And that's not a
Yes.
spoiler for anybody, so don't get any ideas that
Oh,
we're spoiling
it's
anything.
fine. No,
But
you can.
where'd you come up with the idea for it?
Basically, it kind of stemmed from my friend Jason Alvino, he was like a writer and a makeup effects guy, and I think it was like a couple years ago. I'd known him for years, and he had just this like insane collection of video games, and he's also he's gonna hate me for saying this, but he seems like he's one of the more irresponsible friends I have. And I was like, well, and for whatever reason, I was just like, I wonder if like Jay, like what would be like a funny scenario for him. And at whatever point, I was just like, oh, it'd be really funny. I remember he told me a story about like playing like Fester's Quest or something at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I thought it'd be funny if he was, trying to like raise some of these characters like they were his kids. And, it all kind of like stemmed from that, and like I wrote a lot of like different drafts of this. Like I wrote a half-hour pilot that helped me get managers and stuff. But yeah, it basically stemmed from my friend Jay, and then kind of through that, I ended up like picking up a lot of these games, and then like kind of devolving back into my childhood, I guess. So it's kind of interesting.
Nothing wrong
But
with that.
I should tell what the premise is because I'm sure a lot of people listening to this won't know. But it's basically like there's a 30-something video game store clerk who releases his 3 favorite 8-bit game characters and has to raise them like they're his kids. And AJ Bowen plays the lead, who you guys will probably be seeing in You're Next, and Ty West, The Sacrament, and some other stuff coming out.
Every other big genre movie.
Yeah. And of course, The Signal, which he did with our friends Jacob Gentry and David Bruckner and Dan Bush, and all good guys.
Horrible Way to Die.
Yeah, and Horrible Way to Die.
Yes.
He's with Simon and Adam and Amy and Joe Swanberg and all those folks.
Adam's Tumblr scares me sometimes.
I haven't seen it. I like his Vine videos. They're pretty out there.
Oh, I like the one he did with Simon where there's a ghost in his hotel room.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam's he's a pretty nice guy.
Yeah,
I don't know him terribly well. I know Simon a little bit better, but yeah, they're both very cool.
Now, when you started production on the Cartridge Family, did everything come together pretty quickly, or did you have to fight to get what you got, or?
It was like I don't know. I really don't know how much I should say about this stuff, but basically there were a lot of problems we had, kind of casting it initially, different friends of mine who I thought would be good, and then kind of didn't work out for specific reasons. The two that worked just instantly were Graham Skipper, who played Sergio, and he's the star of a movie called Almost Human that's playing at Toronto, that my friend Joe Bigos directed. But he instantly knew that character where he's okay, it's if Mario was a real Brooklyn plumber. And he's hostile and disgusting and, all that good stuff. And then AJ also, I had, maybe I had one conversation with him about it, and he just instantly walked in and he's okay, is it this? And I was yep. And then he just, showed up and nailed it every time and, did a really, really great job, I think.
Yes, he did.
But yeah. And then, Brian, I should talk about the other two guys. Brian Gillespie, who played the Twain character, is kind of a riff on Link from Zelda. He did a phenomenal job. He came in and replaced another friend of mine, and he just, I thought he did a terrific job. And Curtis Friesel, who played Roboman, was also really, he's the Mega Man dude. I thought he was really funny. He kind of took this approach of making it like Michael J. Fox meets Stephen Hawking, which I thought was hilarious. And yeah,
and it was.
Thank you.
There you go. Now I know you're shopping it around. We'll not get too into it.
We can get into it. I have no fear.
Okay. your show might be fearing this, but that's now. I know we talked about it before, but you're looking for more of an internet type of thing to do it as a web series. Episodes about 10 minutes long.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping we can keep them 5 to 10 minutes long, kind of Beavis and Butthead in the 90s, where they'd be okay, here's an 8 to 11-minute episode, and they're each kind of crazy and they go on some random adventure, and then that's it, and then they're on to the next one, and probably not a ton of continuity between them, but yeah, we basically want to do as many of these as possible, and it's we've got some pretty insane ideas for future ones.
Well, we'll keep that under wraps because people haven't even seen the first one yet. Excuse me. You're on Twitter at Boss Jacko.
Yep, that's me.
And do you have a website?
No. The only one we've got right now is there's a cartridgefamilyshow.com, and that's there's nothing really on there right now. That's basically just a placeholder for us. We do have a Facebook though, which I am going to look up the link for that real quick.
And it will be in the description of this video, so don't worry.
Oh, yeah. Then never mind. I take it back.
I'll do it for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's whatever the URL is. I think it's Cartridge Family Show or something after the Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta love Facebook. So how many times a day do you get requests to play Candy Crush?
Not that many. I still haven't played it. I don't entirely know what it is. I guess it's like a Tetris or like a Dr. Mario type thing.
It's weird. I keep getting I made the mistake of getting up to like level 60 or 70 and then stopped. And then I keep getting emails from people, and it's the weirdest people you'd imagine. You're going through and like, oh, Brian Collins is playing Candy Crush. That's great.
Yeah.
And it brings me a chuckle.
We
But
uh we went and watched Armageddon at the New Beverly a few weeks ago, and then it was him and a few of our other friends were all playing it, and I was like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" I just had no idea what this thing is, and they all seem pretty addicted to it. It's apparently the type I've been warned off of playing it from them, where they're like, "It's too addicting. Don't play it." And then at a certain point, I guess you have to start buying into it, or you have to like pay money to keep playing it, or something crazy.
that's kind of why I stopped because I'd much rather go buy Blu-rays. And
Yeah, yeah,
my money is much more well spent buying the 25th anniversary Blu-ray of the last Starfighter.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
I
It's a good
definitely
one.
yes, and I hadn't seen that movie in years. And you put it in, it's like that's the most beautiful 8-bit I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a while since I watched it. I remember liking it as a kid, and I always used to mix it up with Starman. I think the John Carpenter movie.
Yeah, that's I I remember seeing Starman as a little kid, not understanding the ending. I was like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
going
It's
on? What? In school, they taught us they have to wait. What? No. Oh,
yeah.
school lied to me. Either John Carpenter's not lying to me. He put out Escape from New York. You know.
Exactly.
So, but now Cartridge Family should be out sometime this year, before the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, like the way it's probably going to work is we'll find like the right domain to host it, and then move into like future episodes, and hopefully get to do like a big chunk of them, and then see if people like it or whatever. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about it, and it's been submitted to like a few film festivals too, and
Oh,
it's
film
pretty fun.
festivals. Oh,
Yeah.
they're just, and that's what
Yeah.
sucks is a lot of the times the festivals will say you can't put the stuff on the internet and you can't show it to people, and then
I
you get people
yeah.
saying, "Oh, well, I saw this great movie at a film festival." Well, how am I supposed to fucking see it because it's at the film festival? It's not online.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting because a lot of these companies they don't they seem cool with it playing at film festivals because they're basically like trying to like drive up views, but they'll have something where it'll be like, okay, it won't go online until this date or what have you. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like what other fun tidbits I can tell you about it. Barbara was very nice, a total professional.
She seems that way,
Um,
and time has been very, very, very kind to her.
oh yeah, I kind of couldn't believe it. I met her at uh, I met her at like a performance of Reanimator the musical. She came down there with Kelly Maroney from Night of the Comet, and I'm a huge fan of Reanimator, and for some reason she started like following me on Twitter, and I she was just like a really friendly, wonderful lady, and I was pretty surprised at how attractive she is. I'm not going to say her age, but she's pretty much all of her friends think she's hot still. So
Hey, then she's doing something right. And you know what? Denise Crosby, we haven't seen her since Pet Cemetery, shows up in Invasion Roswell, and not looking too bad, gotta say.
yeah, no, yeah, it was kind of weird. Like she seems like she was like when I saw her in that. I was like, God, she just looks exactly like she did in Pet Cemetery. So I don't know what.
Makes me want to go back and start watching TNG from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah,
never seen the show before. I'm just now getting into it, and I just started season 7. So hopefully I'll be done soon, and then I can quit watching Star Trek.
yeah. I should talk about Will too, who's like my directing partner. He directed the Cartridge Family. He's super talented, and he did a short a couple of years ago that Rob Zombie selected for the Halloween Horror Nights contest. That was called Trick. That I think is on. I think it's on YouTube now. It's really good. It's a cartoon. It's kind of like in the vein of Creep Show. And him and I are the best friends, and hopefully we'll be working together for many years to come. But he's a pretty huge part. If you enjoyed that Cartridge Family pilot, he's a pretty huge part of why that thing works. So I got to give him a good amount of credit there.
So you're kind of like the showrunner, huh?
Yeah, basically the way we kind of set it up is like like wrote it and then picked out most of the actors and produced it, and then Will directed it and gave it his own kind of style and flavor and all that. And it was definitely collaborative, but it's like a lot of me being annoying and demanding specific stuff and all this nonsense.
Nothing wrong with that.
I also realize it's probably going to be super weird for anyone watching or listening to this right now, because they're going to have like no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
I'm sure they'll figure it out eventually down the line. But I want to thank you so much for being on. And when Cartridge Family actually comes out and the whole world can see it, I'd love to have you back on and talk about it.
Yeah, no, I'd be thrilled. And also, that Invasion Roswell is probably running through the rest of the weekend. I don't think it's coming out on DVD anytime soon, but if you're bored and want a goofy laugh, it should be on your local sci-fi channel.
Rock and roll, and then you can see Denise Crosby.
Yes, exactly.
If you're not at Flashback Weekend right now, because apparently she's there.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
No, I was gonna go, but it's just too much crap going on. But apparently,
Yeah.
my friend sent me a text saying that there is no line for Danny Glover.
That's shameful, because Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 are both masterpieces, and he's a terrific actor.
Predator 2.
Yeah, Predator 2 also. That's another great one.
I just responded with, he's getting too old for this shit.
Yeah. Indeed.
But
what horror movie is he in besides Saw?
I think they're counting Predator 2.
Oh,
maybe.
Predator 2, I see.
Yeah, but and the guest of honor is George Romero, so I'm really kind of pissed about that.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah, I hear good things about old George.
Apparently, they're also debuting for like the Midwest, I guess you could say it. Your Next is going to be there tonight. They're going to be showing it.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah.
Of course, no, I'm not there. But yeah. Anyway, that's all besides the point. That's just me rambling on about my bullshit.
That's fine.
Jackson, it's been great having you on, and we'll definitely have to have you back very, very soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I had a good time.